Good evening, dear students. So, as I mentioned, chapter 5 video will be uploaded. So, in the class, I have mentioned chapter 4 is completed, that is verification of assets and liabilities. And chapter 5, I'm going to upload the video, that is company audit. So, company audit is conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Companies Act 1956. So company audit is compulsory because it comes under the Companies Act 1956. So to conduct a company audit, a company must appoint a qualified auditor. He may be CA, he may be ICWA, he may be company secretary, but qualified auditor should be appointed as an auditor of the company to prepare or to conduct the company audit. So qualification of auditor. As per the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, that is ICAI, a person shall not be qualified for appointment as auditor unless he is chartered accountant within the meaning of CA Act 1949. A person who holds restricted auditor certificates, Part P 1956. An auditor must possess adequate educational qualification. He is independent of all influences. A chartered accountant means a person who is member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So these are the qualification to become a qualified auditor. Next, qualities of an auditor. So first, he should be independent. The auditor should be independent, should have the integrity, means to discuss with each other. Objectivity, he should have the objective that he will identify the errors and frauds with honest. Ability to express and communication, because this is the very important part, because he has to express the errors which he have identified and he has to communicate with the higher authority. Tactfulness, so what is there in the report of the audit, so that should be exactly conveyed to the higher authority. Awareness, and he should create the awareness regarding the errors which you have identified, so next time while making the auditing or auditing procedure, so that type of error should not be repeated. Next, rights powers of an auditor. So rights of access at all times to books of accounts and vouchers of the company, that's the first right. Second one, right to receive notice and to attend general meeting. Third one, right to obtain information and explanation. And fourth one, right to visit branches. And fifth one, right to sign audit report. Sixth one, right to receive remuneration. So these are the rights and powers of an auditor. So no one can question regarding this. Next, duties of an auditor. First one, compliance with audit standard. Duty to report fraud, duty not to render certain services, like he cannot render consulting and specialized services, which means any one or combination of accounting and bookkeeping services, internal audit, design and implementation of any financial information system. So if the auditor, ಈಗ auditor ಈ ವರ್ಕನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅಂತ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಫೈಡ್ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಇಫ್ ದ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಹೂ ಈಸ್ rendering the services, like he is preparing accounting and bookkeeping services, internal audit ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಡಿಸೈನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಸೊ ಇಂಥ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ he should not render these certain services. Fourth one, acquiralious services ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಟು ಟೈಮ್ ಅಥವಾ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಡಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಸರ್ಟೆನ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅಂತವನ್ನ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಫಿಫ್ತ್ ಒನ್, ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಡ್ವೈಸರಿ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್. ಸೊ ಅಡ್ವೈಸರಿ ಕಮಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಅಂತ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಅನ್ನ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್, ಅಗೇನ್ IBS ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ದ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಈಸ್ having the connection with investment banking services cannot be appointed as a auditor of the company. Then management services, again if he is providing the services under the management, then he is not verified. Any other kind of consultancy services. So totally I can say that if the person is having the connection with consultancy services regarding the accounting work, then that person is not qualified to become an auditor of the company. Next one, fourth one, duty to sign audit reports. So auditor should sign the audit report compulsorily. Next, duty to attend general meeting. So he can attend the general meeting. Next, duty to report. Under section 114 of the act, the auditor has to report to the members of the company on, so these segments: accounts examined by him, then every financial statement laid before general meeting during his tenure, then duty to enquire. The seventh one is secure loans and advances, transactions represented merely by book entries, and personal expenses. So these are the 7 duties to be followed by the auditor. So next one, appointment of an auditor, very important for examination point of view. So who can become an auditor? So one is chartered accountant in practice, then partnership firm of CA in practice, so holder of a certificate in part B in states. So these are the 3 qualifications required to become an auditor. Next, disqualification of an auditor. Any body corporate, if he is a member of any body corporate, he is disqualified. An officer or employee of the company under audit, he is disqualified. Then a person who is a partner or who is in employment of an officer or employee of the company, then he is disqualified. A person who is indebted to the company for an amount exceeding 1000 rupees, 1000 ಗಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಪೆಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅವನನ್ನ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ವಾಲಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಎ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಂಪನಿ, ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಅಂತವನನ್ನ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ವಾಲಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಎ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಹೂ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬಿನ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ವಾಲಿಫೈಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಅನ್ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಂಪನಿ ಆನ್ ಅಬೋವ್ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ಡ್ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ಸ್ shall also not be eligible for appointment with any other body corporate which may be that company's subsidiary or company's holding company. So ಈ 5 ರೀಸನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ವಾ, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಾದ್ರೂ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅಂತ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ವಾಲಿಫೈ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಹೂ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಡಿಟರ್? ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್, auditor can be appointed by directors of the company. Second one, auditors can be appointed by shareholders. Third one, appointed by central government. And fourth one, appointed by controller and auditor in general. So appointment by directors. So first, auditors. The board of directors shall appoint first auditors of the company within 1 month of the date of the registration of the company. So remember this, first auditor ಯಾವಾಗ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ? within the 1 month of date of registration of the company. Casual vacancy. The directors have been empowered to fill any casual vacancy in the office of an auditor except which is caused by prior resignation of an auditor. So casual vacancy means if the auditor is having the medical emergency, he has gone for the leave or he is injured, then casual vacancy will be created in that person because they are appointed by the directors within the 1 month of date of registration. So when the auditor is not there, that time vacancy will be created. That is considered as casual vacancy unless he is resigned from the auditor job. So next one, appointed by shareholders. Second one. So first auditors, in case of directors fails to appoint first auditor, the shareholders shall do so at general meeting by passing a resolution. So ಜನರಲ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಸಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ರೆಸಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾರು? ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ಸ್. ಯಾವಾಗ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡದೇ ಇದ್ರೆ. ಸಬ್ಸಿಕ್ವೆಂಟ್ ಆಡಿಟರ್ಸ್ ಬೈ ಆರ್ಡಿನರಿ ರೆಸಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಇಂದ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಬೈ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ರೆಸಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಅಥವಾ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಒಂದು ಜನರಲ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. So the company shall within 7 days give intimation to the auditors who are appointed. The auditor shall inform in writing to the registrar of the companies within 30 days of his appointment. So these are the rules and regulations to be followed after the special resolution or ordinary resolution. 7 days ಒಳಗಡೆ auditor ಗೆ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. auditor 30 days ಒಳಗಡೆ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾಶುವಲ್ ವೇಕೆನ್ಸಿ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. If a casual vacancy in the officer of an auditor arises by his resignation, such vacancy should only be filled by the company in a general meeting. So ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಅವ್ನು ರಿಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಆಡಿಟರ್ ರಿಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ವಾಪಸ್ ರಿಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಹೇಗೆ? ವಾಪಸ್ ಜನರಲ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್, ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬೈ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್. If a company at an annual general meeting fails to appoint or reappoint an auditor, the central government may appoint a person to fill the vacancy. So directors fail ಆದರೆ ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ಫೇಲ್ ಆದರೆ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. So the company has to give notice of the above fact to the government within the 7 days of the annual general meeting. So within 7 days ಆಡಿಟರ್ಗೆ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ವಿದಿನ್ 30 days ಅವನು ರಿಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಒಂದ್ ವೇಳೆ ಇದಾಗದೇ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫೇಲ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಡಿಟರ್ನ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. ಸೊ ಆವಾಗ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಮ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಪ್ಲೇ. ಸೊ ದ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬೈ ದ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಪ್ಯಾನಲ್ ಆಫ್ ನೇಮ್ ಸಜೆಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ಬೈ ದ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೆಂಟ್ ಕಂಪನಿ. ಸೊ ಕಂಪನಿಯವರು ಯಾವ ನೇಮ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು, ಆ ನೇಮ್ ಅನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಯಾನಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವರು ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Next, appointment by the controller and auditor in general. So in case of government companies, the controller and auditor in general appoints or reappoints the auditor. Next one, reappointment of an auditor. So the retiring auditor shall not be reappointed in following cases. First one, not qualified. Second one, unwilling, passing of a special resolution, appointment of some other person, unable to comply with the ceiling on the number of audits. So reappointment ಈ 5 ಕೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಸೀಲಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ audits. ಸೊ ಪ್ರೊವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೀಲಿಂಗ್ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು, ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೇನ್ಸ್ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು, ಸೀಲಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಅದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ದೆನ್ ಸೀಲಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ನರ್ಶಿಪ್ ಫರ್ಮ್. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಆಡಿಟ್. ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಯೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ರೆಮ್ಯುನರೇಷನ್. ಸೊ ಫೀಸ್ ಟು ದ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ಡ್. ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಆಡಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. Then cost of any facility provided to the auditor. So these are the part of remuneration to be paid to the auditor. So who can fix the remuneration? Board of directors in case of first auditor appointed by the board of directors. Shareholders in the general meeting in case the auditors are appointed by the shareholders in the general meeting. Shareholders in the general meeting in case of auditor appointed by the central government for government company. Removal of an auditor. It is also important for examination point of view. So removal of auditor before the expiry of his term, that comes under section 224(7). The purpose of this section is to make removal removal of an independent or conscientious auditor difficult. So removal of first auditor, removal of subsequent auditor. So both this comes under section 224(7). So appointment of auditor in place of retiring auditor. It comes under section 225. Special notice of the resolution for appointing a person other than the retiring auditor. A special notice of such resolution should be given to the company at least 14 days before the meeting. So special notice of the resolution meeting ಮಾಡೋ 14 days ಮುಂಚೆನೇ notice ready ಆಗಿರಬೇಕು. Second one, right of retiring auditor to make representation. The retiring auditor has the right to make representations in writing to the company not exceeding reasonable length and request for their notification to the members. Next one, right to get a representation circulated. The company on receipt of the representation shall mention the fact of the representation in the notice of the meeting and send a copy thereof to every member to whom the notice of the meeting is sent. Ground for exemption. If the central government on the application is satisfied that the auditor is securing needless publicity of a defamatory matter, it can exempt the company from sending the copy of representation to the members. Other rights. Besides the rights mentioned, the retiring auditor also has a right to be heard at the meeting and passing of resolution, that is general meeting may by passing an ordinary resolution remove such an auditor. Next, penalty for non-compliance. Because as per the Company Act 1956, auditor should compliance with the auditing report. So according to section 232 of the Companies Act 1956, if default is made by the company in complying with any of the provisions contained in section 225, the company and every officer of the company who is in default shall be punishable with fine which may extend up to 5,000 rupees. Audit report. So a report is a statement of collected and considered facts, so drawn up as to give clear and concise information to persons who are not already in possession of the full facts. Kinds of audit report: final report, interim report, partial report. Characteristics of good audit report: it should be unbiased, it should be expressed in clear, it should be accurate, it should be in simple style, it should be brief, and it should be coherent. So this is the audit report prepared by the auditor. So where the seal will be there, that will be considered as valid audit report, and signature of the chartered accountant you can see, and the secretary you can see, and this is the balance sheet format. So this is the example of audit report. Okay, so now in this chapter, appointment of an auditor and removal of an auditor is important for 20 marks, and rights, powers, duties of an auditor is important for 20 marks. And I'm going to upload the materials regarding watching, then verification of assets and liabilities, and this chapter in the upcoming days. Thank you. Read well. If there is any doubts regarding any chapter, kindly make a call so that I can clarify your doubts, and be thorough with the 2 marks question because it is very easy to score the marks. And regarding the 20 marks, repeated questions are there. Study the last 3 years question paper so that you can get the clarified answers and the materials I'm going to provide you. And you can refer the textbook B.S. Raman auditing, this there in the library. You can take the library copy. Okay, if there is any doubts, clarify that. Thank you and all the best for your examination.